This is Hidden Killers with Tony Brewski.
Donna Adelson, well, she walked into court this week hoping to convince a judge that she was the real victim here. 75-year-old grandmother trapped in a jail full of violent criminals, denied proper medical care, and barely getting any sleep. There was a lot of sighs in her testimony. She said she was being assaulted, extorted, and suffering while awaiting trial. In other words, she was in jail. But the prosecution had a slightly different take on all of this, one that involved jailhouse calls, escape plans, and an almost successful flight to Vietnam. But by the end of the hearing, Donna wasn't just staying behind bars. Her own words were now officially admissible at trial. Joining me to discuss is criminal defense attorney Bob Motta, host of the podcast Defense Diaries, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube, to break down exactly what went wrong for Donna in the courtroom. Let's get right to it. If you're a defense attorney, how do you even begin to spin the jailhouse call where your client is literally talking about escaping to a country with no U.S. extradition?
I mean, just like her lawyer did. I mean, you know, and she tried to sell the story. She's like, if I thought for 1 minute she was trying to escape, I never would have signed off on this motion. I never would have drafted it. You know, so I mean, like they came up with this concept that, oh, you know, Harvey and I had gone to Vietnam. We needed some peace. We were very upset, obviously. Charlie, our son, had just been found guilty and was going to prison. And, you know, and I checked with, you know, people and there was no warrant for me. You know, I talked to the lawyer. They said, look, if there's nothing out there, you can do anything you want. You know, so I ended up booking the tickets because we had been to Vietnam previously and we found it to be a very harmonious, peaceful country and we really enjoyed it. So that's where we decided to go, you know, and now whether or not it just so happens that they have no extradition there, you know, and in the place that they were going to go to after that had no extradition too. So, and
it's a talking point. It's not just like oh, really? I didn't know they had no extradition. It's like you're literally discussing it. So I'm going to guess it's kind of a selling point of that little trip there, you know, just in case you wanted to stay over a little bit longer. I mean, could this all have been avoided? I mean, why did she take the stand at her own bond hearing? I don't really, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the purpose of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think they needed her to get on in order to testify to the shit that was going on in the jail. You know, I don't know how else you get it in. Yes, it was written in the pleading, but that's not evidence in the case. That's just words on paper. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like we read pleadings all the time. People many times think whatever's in one side's pleading or the other is total bullshit. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the point of like you got to go in and vet it at court. So I can see why they did it. They came in, they obviously kept it to a very limited scope. You know, but it came off exactly how you think it would. Like she's a 75-year-old woman who hates being in jail.
Yes.
You know, like a bunch of like petty shit that a bunch of everybody in jail goes through. You know, yeah, the beds are not comfortable, Donna.
Yeah.
You know, people are mean in there. You know, you're dealing with some hardened criminals that are going to be in there. They're going to know who you are. Mm-hmm. They're going to know that you have money. They're going to come at you. I mean, it's kind of part of the deal, you know? Yeah. I mean, it's like the medical care is not going to be what you're used to. You got a wax buildup in your tough shit.
Yeah.
You know, you're spending $7,500 to have some high-end ENT guy like dig that shit out. Well, you're not getting that in jail. Yeah. Sorry. You know, you're having a hard time hearing. Too bad. Get some Q-tips.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know. I mean, did you find any of her arguments of her care in jail or lack thereof to be viable or anything that really, you know, deserves a whole lot of attention?
No, I didn't.
No.
And in all honesty, could that be because I'm covering the Richard Allen case so much, and I've seen what
real
through pre-trial.
Yeah.
It makes it look like her shit's the pettiest shit I've ever heard in my life.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So, like, and I realize that I could be looking at it from that perspective and being like, wow, like this, if she only knew,
Yeah.
how bad it could really be. But if I'm looking at it from a perspective of if she were my client and she were complaining of these things, I'd take the shot. I'd take the shot. I'd write it up. I'd be like, all right, like, I don't want you to hold your breath on this.
Mm-hmm.
The likelihood, because I don't think she's as much of a flight risk as she is a suicide risk.
Yeah.
I tend to think that, like, that would be my concern if I were the state. And I was frankly a little bit surprised that they didn't argue that.
Mm-hmm.
That they just kind of stuck with the flight risk. I mean, they've got her passport. Like, I don't know that Donna's going down to the boat docks and like paying somebody $5,000 to like stow her and Harvey away and bring them to Cuba. I mean, maybe she could do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're obviously going to be tailing her. She'd obviously have a GPS, and if she cuts it off, they're all, you know what I mean? It's like the concept of her, the flight risk thing is not that big to me.
Yeah.
The concept of her and Harvey just saying, she's like, dear, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you right now, like, I got a little bit of a taste from this jail experience, like the concept of me living the rest of my life in a prison. I'm not willing to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I'm calling it a day, because I mean, she can just look at her son's case and know they're going to get her.
Yeah.
They're going to get her. I don't see any world in which she's walking away with this, with the not guilty.
What are the biggest things you think they're going to get her on here? Because one of the biggest holes in this is that there's not technically direct evidence. There's not an email or a text or recorded conversation where Donna explicitly orders the hit. There is a check, but we don't have the exact smoking gun here. What are going to be the big points that they're going to hammer out here in court?
They're going to have to continue to build up the concept that Charlie didn't have cash liquid.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, because then the money can only come from one place. And the other thing that we know is that the money is going to be tracked. So it came from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So short of Donna and Harvey having a safe with just straight up cash, it was never accounted for. And these are all cash transactions. Maybe she's got a shot in kind of building some doubt that they don't have the proof. But I mean, otherwise it's, you're putting on the case against Charlie in the sense that, well, Charlie was the middleman, but she was the money man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to look at this, because I mean, a large amount of money was paid off to Magmanaba, and that's like, they came from somewhere, I mean, that's what the case, like, they're frankly, we can't pretend that the jailhouse calls and the overhears don't exist because, she knew.
Yeah.
They have enough to know.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not she was she was the puppet master, because really it's the same issue that they have with Wendy, and probably to a greater extent, because I was having this conversation yesterday that, the problem, like, there's no reason they need to be waiting for arresting Wendy if they have the evidence. Mm-hmm. I think secretly, my buddy Jay like came up with this concept and it really resonated. He's like, what I think that what the hope is from the state is that if Donna ends up getting convicted, that it's going to really, really piss Charlie off. And it's going to piss Charlie off to the extent, and the concept being that now him, his mother, potentially his father, who they may arrest next, he's still very much in play.
Yeah.
That every one of the family members is now either in prison or going to prison, and Wendy's living down in Texas eating fucking bonbons. Mm-hmm. That might be enough for Charlie to turn state's evidence and say, yeah, I'll give it up. I'm done with this shit. Like, we're all not going to like sit in prison while Wendy lives her life.
Yeah.
When we did this for her. So, and it's, like it's going to be interesting. Like what is Charlie going to say to protect his mom? I think Charlie will probably go to the mat, protecting his mom. Which is a very tricky thing because he's got appeals.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like he's put in an impossible position where he's going to really have to go up there and continue to deny everything. Because he can't submarine his own appeal. If it's still his contention that he didn't have anything to do with this, that that they all got whatever Rashbaum's theory was, that they were getting extorted. So yeah, it's I think the lesson that you take away from this is, you look at the irony that she'd be willing to move to Tallahassee now, but wasn't willing to do it back when Dan was alive. You want to be near your grandkids, and go fucking move near your grandkids.
Yeah, that's up to you at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't kill the father.
No, and you don't necessarily force him to have to go move back where you are. That's
right.
Your kids move out and they move on and they go on with life. If you'd like to be close to them, that's on your job at that point in time.
Exactly.
And you live with the consequences of that choice.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.